Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival. And today we are going to talk about 12 basic steps to start prepping. And then within each step, I'm also going to talk about different ways that you can level up, within that section to kind of take it a little bit further whenever you're ready to do so. We've got 12 points here. And this probably isn't gonna be one of the fastest videos I've ever done. We're gonna go kind of break down into it a little bit and talk about each one and all that kind of stuff, so it's gonna take a little bit of time. I do want to let you guys know that we're gonna be having some giveaways over on Substack. So head over to realitysurvival.substack.com and subscribe. We've got this one. Probably is going to be mailed out for this giveaway by the time this video airs. It will have been given away to the free subscribers over there, and then we are going to go ahead and give away this slick kit by the end of the year for all of the free subscribers as well. So make sure you get in on that. And then we are going to have a I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do this, but I am going to run it through Substack, so make sure you're subscribed over there. We're going to have a giveaway for the 100,000 subscribers thing, and one of the things we'll be giving away on there is an EMP micro, which is a EMP shield for a vehicle, and they've gotten a lot smaller and more condensed, so that's really cool. And then we're also going to be giving away a bare minimum 2.0, and we appreciate both EMP Shield and Refuge Medical for sponsoring these items in the giveaway. And I'll do a review of each of these and installing the EMP Shield as well before too long I think I'm going to install it on my tractor. It's the same install on any vehicle, any 12-volt system. So anyway, so make sure that you're signed up over on Substack over there. Additionally, for the paid subscribers, we'll be doing a monthly giveaway over on Substack as well. And we might occasionally open it up to the free subscribers too, but I wanted to do something to give back to the folks who are helping to support my efforts to educate the public on disaster preparedness. So that is going to be one of the perks of being a paid subscriber. Now, from now until the end of the year, I lowered the price so it's only $5 a month or $50 per year, and I'm doing a 30% off discount. And if you sign up before the end of the year, it's 30% off forever. So it would only be like, what, $35 or something like that for the whole year. And then you get that price forever. So anyway, I totally would appreciate it if you guys consider doing that. If you can't do it, I understand money's tight. You can always do the free subscriptions, and that is going to allow me to communicate directly with you about all the videos that we put out and all that kind of stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So I tried to really distill this down to the things that needed to be focused on based off of kind of what could affect you first. Like what is most likely to affect all people in a blanket umbrella. So you might have specific situations and you might need to rearrange this list, but this is kind of just a general list for most folks, okay? So the number one thing is fire safety for your home. You need to get some firefighting equipment for your home. Start with several 10-pound fire extinguishers. Make sure that you put one of them in your bedroom. A lot of people don't think about that, but if you wake up in the middle of the night to a house fire, it would be nice to be able to have that fire extinguisher in your room with you so you don't have to try to get through your house to some other part of the house where the fire extinguisher is sitting. Make sure one's in your room. Then, like if you have children, I place mine on the route to my children's room and then from the children's room to the exit, right, of where I would be going. Because I'm going to use those to enable me to try to hopefully get out of the home. If I can put the fire out, great. But if it's already engulfed, then I want to try to use it to my advantage to try to exit the house. So think about that. And then to level up from there, think about adding emergency smoke hoods. Now there's several different kinds on the market, and these are not a substitute. They don't provide you with the ability to breathe clean air. They're not like an O2 tank. What it does is it basically removes enough particulates that you can still breathe without choking and all that kind of stuff, without coughing and all that. Now, if the oxygen is being burned up in the environment and there's no oxygen there to breathe, it's not going to create any for you. So it's just a stopgap to give you a better ability to try to get out of the house fast as possible. Okay, so if the house is already filled with smoke, you can put this thing on and it'll make it easier for you to breathe while you're trying to get out. I've done some tests on it in the past. There's an old video out there you guys can see, and they definitely do make a difference. But it's just important to note that they're not going to, they're not going to create air for you if it's not there. So the next thing you could add after that is get a fire blanket. You could put one of each of those in each bedroom. And basically those are like a fiberglass welder's blanket is essentially what it is. You can get them fairly reasonably on Amazon. And I'll try to put some links to some of this stuff below if I can find it. But that is something that you can put around you so that if there's flames around you and stuff, it kind of keeps you from getting burned. Then you might look at escape ladders if you have second-story bedrooms. So statistically, house fire is probably way more likely to cause you a personal SHTF situation than any of the other normal stuff that preppers talk about on a regular basis. The fire is the big one, especially if you're a smoker or especially if you heat your house with wood. Those two things put you higher in the likely category where something could happen. So focus on that first. The next thing is medical. You want to get a good first aid kit or trauma kit for your vehicles. And then the next step would be getting one for your home, and take a training class. Take a training class, like a Stop the Bleed class is a great class to take. RefugeMedical.com has a bunch of those. And then I think there's other folks out there that offer them too. I know Patriot Nurse used to, and I think Skinny Medic may as well. I'm sure there's other ones. But take a class, take a first aid class if you can, so that you understand how to deal with major bleeding, the whole March algorithm. All right, so let's see. Then if you're going to, once you've got one for your vehicle, you've got something for your house, then you might look at getting like a trauma kit for your plate carrier. Then you might look at getting like a wound bucket or two for aftercare. And a wound bucket is basically something like this from Refuge Medical. And this thing is packed full of gauze and tape and antiseptic and stuff like that. All the things that you would need to take care of a wound if you had to take care of something without medical services for a while. So you can kind of go, sort of in that order. And then the other thing you might think about is a Jase case for antibiotics and infection care as well. Now, links to these companies will be down in the description below. Now, you can also assemble your own first aid kits. That's fine if you want to do that. You can do that. But especially the vehicle. That's the number one thing on the list, because you are likely at some point in your driving life to get into a wreck. All right, most people will, and a lot of those people will get hurt. And as a first responder, as somebody who is a prepared person and you're trying to help other people, it's a great idea to have these first aid kits in your vehicle so that if you see somebody that's in trouble, you can help them. For me, this bare minimum 2.0 is going to go right behind my headrest, and that way I can grab it. I've got a Bearfac 3.0 on the passenger side, and if I need to grab something, I can grab it right out of there and take it out and help somebody or whatever. So that's a good kit for that kind of thing if you want. Let's see here. The next one on the list is number 3 is power production. The United States, over the next several years, is probably going to experience significant issues with power production. The reason that this is because we're in this transition phase where the government is putting up a lot of subsidy money to get utility companies to go more green and to put in more solar and wind and that kind of thing. And so they're going to use that money. Those companies are not going to let that money go to waste. They are going to use it. They are going to start installing it onto the grid. And when they do that, the grid becomes more fragile and becomes more unreliable because the sun is not always up and the wind doesn't always blow. And we don't have huge battery capacity yet to be able to stabilize things. Then when we also, if you see you experience a situation where you have low sunlight for several days in a row because it's really overcast and the wind's not really blowing that much, then you're going to see your production fall. And then if you hit a period where, say, it's really cold and you need to have a lot more power production, then the grid isn't able to keep up. It only takes, I think Bear mentioned this the other day, and it's true. I talked about it in a couple of videos ago about the EPRI report, I think. It only takes about a 1% deviation on the power grid, and if it goes outside of that, they'll have to start shutting stuff down in order to maintain power in other places. So you need to have the ability to produce your own power. So start easy. Start with getting a small generator inverter, like a 2 or 3 kilowatt, like the little Predators or the Westinghouses or the Hondas, the little small inverters. Just something big enough that's capable of running your fridge and a couple of lights or something like that, right? That's a good first starting point. Then if you want to level up from there, you can look at, and it's also an alternative to the first one, sorry. You can look at installing a DC to AC inverter in your vehicle that's large enough to run your freezer and your fridge. That's probably a cheaper option because then you only got to buy the inverter and then get it wired in. And the motor on your car is a very efficient way to power that inverter, and it probably would use less fuel than a standby, like a generator or whatever. Let's see. If you want to level up past those two, then you could get a 10 to 12,000 kilowatt dual fuel generator, one that'll run off propane and gas. And then have a transfer switch installed. That way you can run your whole house off of one generator. You can plug it in, you can run your whole house, and then you can just shut off a couple of circuits in your house that you don't necessarily need to power. That's what I've done here at the house. It was more cost effective at this point than trying to go with a whole house generator, which would be kind of down the line where you want to spend some more money. Another thing you consider beyond that, a little bit more up on the cost scale, would be to consider a solar generator, something like the Delta, Delta EcoFlow Delta Pro, I think. You can get those somewhere around $3,000, and then get like 600 to 800 watts of solar panels with it, and that's going to be a pretty good setup as well. So if you want to go the whole way, then the two top options for you are going to be to get a whole house generator with like a 1,000-gallon propane tank. That's going to probably run you $7,000 to $10,000, somewhere in there. And then if you wanted to do an off-grid solar setup, that's probably going to cost you $20,000 or more. So it just depends on how much you really want to focus into it. And what size and power and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, you obviously could do a solar setup for less, but if it's going to have a lot less capacity, Okay, so power production. Just think about that because that's going to be an important one over the next few years. You're going to see more and more about power outages. All right, number 4 is water. With water, the easiest thing you can do right off the front is get a gallon of unscented household bleach. Now, it's only going to last 6 months. You have to replace it every 6 months, but that only costs you a couple of bucks. With that, you can use that to purify water if you have to, right? It's not the best way to do it, but you can definitely do it. The next level up from there would be to get a couple of large stainless steel stock pots for boiling water. Now, as you've probably heard in the news recently, there's a lot of places where the infrastructure is breaking down and they're having to have boil orders. It just happened like last week in Houston. Having a couple of big pots where you can boil water is a great way to be able to take care of yourself when the city water stops coming out of tap or is not safe when it comes out of tap. Next thing you can do is get a countertop gravity filter. There's several different brands out there. Alexapure Pro, Berkey, Dalton. I like the Dalton ones. I like the Alexapure Pro ones. I've never had a Berkey. They're not bad either. I know that there's one particular channel out there a guy who has a he has a beef with Berkey, and he's been saying how they're not rated and all that kind of stuff. And the way I figure it is if that's the case, there'll probably be a lawsuit, and then we'll find out in the interim in that lawsuit. Until then, I'm gonna wait to reserve judgment because I'm gonna go ahead and take the word of the third-party testers who say that they're testing the water. That's just me, but you can have a different opinion on that if you'd like. Obviously, let's see. The next thing you do is get like a portable water filter that has a ceramic filter. So I personally like the Katadyn Pocket. It's fairly expensive. It's about $300, but it's a very, very well-made water filter. Personally, I think it's probably one of the best ones on the market. There are other ones with ceramic filters as well. I personally stay away from hollow fiber micro tubes like the Sawyers and stuff. Those are cheap one-season filters. They're not built to last, and they don't last forever. They're a one-season filter. The next thing is if you wanted to get a Portawell, that is something I've done videos on the past, and I'm an affiliate with them as well. It's essentially a way to filter about a gallon per minute, and which is a lot faster. You fill up a 5-gallon bucket in 5 minutes, and it's run through a series of a couple of filters. Depending on which filters you use, depends on how much safer the water is. May not be totally safe depending on the filter combination. But that's a great way to move large quantities of water. If we were in a situation where the water was down for a long period of time and you needed to get a lot of water for your family, you're probably going to be looking at like 5 to 8 gallons per person per day. So if you're somebody who has a family of 4, that's a lot of water per day that you're going to have to get. You're trying to do it with a hand pump and all that kind of stuff, it's not going to work out long term. So you really need something that is built for more volume, and that's where the Portawell comes in. Like I said, the link's down below. Okay, number 5 is food storage. With food storage, you just want to add to your pantry. So take however much money you can, maybe say $300 for this example. Take $300, go get you a 50-pound bag of rice, 25 pounds of beans, several cases of canned fruits and vegetables, and then as much canned chili, tuna, chicken, Spam, and soups or whatever that you can with the rest of that money. Add that to your pantry. That's going to be a good first step. Ideally, you'd like to get your pantry where you could live out of it for at least 3 months, if you can. If you can stock it up and build it up to that much, that would be great. A next good step, I think, is to go to the LDS cannery, the LDS online cannery. You can get number 10 cans. They come with 6 in a box, and they run anywhere from like $35 to say $65 per box of 6. Okay, yeah, that's cheap. I don't know if you've priced out number 10 cans before, but that stuff is rated to be stored for like 25 to 30 years. That is a really, really good way to stock up on some of the staples, and you can put that back. And if you spend $1,000 or so in the LDS online cannery, you got a lot of food. You got a lot of food, a whole lot more than you would if you go to the freeze-dried stuff and whatnot. Now, the next thing on my list here, I believe in layering. And so you go with the pantry, then you go with some of the staples, then you go with getting some of those freeze-dried food buckets. Nutrient Survival is a great way to go from there. They are the best tasting and probably the most nutritious stuff on the market. They're pretty spendy, but I would recommend trying to work towards getting 4 buckets per person, at least. And that gives you some variety. And the other thing you can do is you don't have to always go to one vendor. I've recommended for a long time that it's a good idea to go to multiple vendors so you get different menus, and you get a variety of flavor profiles. You know, this stuff just tastes different and all that. And then if additionally, if one batch was bad from one company, you're not going to likely have the same thing happen from the other companies. So it's not a bad idea to switch it up a little bit as well. That's what I do personally. Then, you know, if you want to level up from there and start going into really high volumes of stored stuff, then you can start looking at, you know, putting rice, beans, wheat, corn, oats, sugar, salt, etc. into 5-gallon buckets with Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. All right. So that's with food. Again, it's all about different levels and where you want to be. Next one, number 6, is self-defense. Get a home defense weapon. Personally, I recommend, if you don't have any other firearms, if this is your first firearm, then I recommend getting a 9mm semi-automatic striker fire pistol with night sights and a flashlight. Okay, and use that as your home defense weapon. Now, it's up to you as to whether or not you want to get a full frame, something a little bit larger with a higher capacity, or if you want to get more like a subcompact, something you can carry as an everyday carry weapon as well. If money is tight, then I would recommend getting something like a Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. That gives you a pretty good capacity, and it's also very concealable. You can still get a light on it. You can still get night sights and all that stuff, and it's a good little gun. And it's big enough that you can actually fight with it. You can actually train, you can tactically train with it. And that is part of what you also need to do. When you get a firearm, anytime you buy a firearm, you should go and take a training class and learn how to become proficient with that weapon. Okay? It's really, really important. A lot of people don't do that. And even if you just get the like what I sent my son to was the 2 NRA classes, and they were good classes. They were decent classes. Now they probably weren't as good as like Warrior Poet Society classes and all that kind of stuff, you know. But they were if you got a good instructor, they can be okay. So you can take a look at the NRA website to find out where classes are around you if you want. If you want to level up from there, or part of that whole thing then is make sure you get you a case, at least a case of full metal jacket ammo, so you can become proficient with it and you can practice with it. Right? That's ammo you need to shoot through the gun. You need to shoot at least 1,000 rounds through the gun just to get used to it, to become proficient with handling it and manipulating it and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you use hollow points for home defense. Then if you want to level up, get a shotgun. Buy a case of buckshot, go take a class with it. Actually shoot those rounds through that gun and become familiar with it. You want to level up from there, get the AR-15, make sure you buy at least 10 magazines, get you a plate carrier and some body armor and a case of ammo. Again, go out and shoot it in a training class with instruction. Then you can stock up as much ammo as you think that you need to have or whatever. Again, make sure to use hollow point ammo for it as well. All right. Number 7 is home security. Install a home security system of some kind on your house. I think it's a good idea to get cameras, exterior cameras that are of a decent quality, and you should be able to access them from your phone, if possible. It's just a good thing. When you hear something going on outside your house, you can grab your phone, you can take a look real quick, see what's going on. It gives you instant situational awareness of what's going on out there, and it's a very handy thing. I have the Ring cameras on my house, and I make sure that I have them on each side of the house so I can see all over the place. Okay, where are we at here? Okay, so the next thing you want to do if you want to level up from there is put some high security locks on your house. Some non-standard high security locks. I've got a couple of videos of it in the past. Things that are a little bit not typical, so that your typical smash and grab thieves don't know how to deal with them and don't know how to bypass them quite so easily. Then you could look at adding door armor from armorconcepts.com. I have an affiliate link in the description below if you want to check that out. That will make your door much more difficult to bang in. Like even with a ram or something like that. You want to consider the 4 Ds of home security, and if I can remember right, it's like detect, detour, delay, and defend. Right? So those are the things that you want to try to do. You want to make it just take a little bit longer to get in your house so that you can get your firearm and be ready to defend your home. If you want to go up from there, then you can consider adding some ballistic window film. And, more importantly than all the previous ones, if you live in a really high population area, consider moving to a rural area. If you live in a high population area, you live where the crime happens. Your chances of being involved in a crime are higher just by living in that area. Okay? Even if it's in a good neighborhood, your chances are still a lot higher. So think about moving to a rural area. Number 8 is mobility. Put together a good get-home bag for your vehicles. Vehicles break down. Okay, and there's a lot of crappy people out there in the world, and when people break down, a lot of people try to take advantage of them and stuff. You need to be able to defend yourself while in your vehicle, but also just throw in a backpack and walk yourself home if you have to. The next thing you can do is add some recovery equipment into your vehicle so that you can get your car out of the ditch in the wintertime if you happen to slide off the road or something like that, or you can help somebody else who slides off the road. From there, you can add a little bit more. If you want to go up a little bit more, you can put in some overnight survival gear and stuff like that, right? This is pretty basic stuff. If you want to get really advanced, get you an EMP shield. That way, if there's a nuclear blast or something like that, or an EMP detonates in the altitude or in the high up in the atmosphere, then your vehicle will continue to run and you will be able to get home to your family. Use the discount code Reality Survival. It'll save you $50 per unit, which is a great discount. And you just go to empshield.com and check it out. All right, let's see. After that, you might consider getting an e-bike as a backup. Especially if you don't have to commute very far to and from work. That could be a good alternative. And then you might even, if you live in a more rural area, you might consider an ATV or a UTV, or even building some sort of dedicated bug-out vehicle that's all, tricked out with all the goodies. Again, it depends on what level you want to be at. Number 9 is fitness. Start walking a mile a day. If you're not used to doing physical activity, just try to commit to go and walk a mile a day. Something like that. Give yourself, 30 minutes of activity. Then you can start adding some push-ups, adding some sit-ups, add another mile on as you can go and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be huge gains. Just try to do something, right? You don't have to be all buff and all that kind of stuff. You just have to be in good enough shape that you can actually carry a backpack and you can walk for quite a distance and all that kind of stuff. You just need to be functionally fit. That's all that there is to it. All right. Number 10 is plant a garden. Start small. Add another section every year. Maybe just start with a couple of raised bed boxes. And then next year add another 1 or 2. And then add another 1 or 2. Just kind of take your time with it. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go all in all at once. You can also look at starting to plant perennial food producing bushes and trees like berries. Blackberries, apple trees, peach trees, those kind of things, like things that actually produce food on your property. Nut trees, those are good ones too. And the other thing you can do is when you're starting to incorporate raised beds around your property, depending on the layout of your house and how your yard is and everything, you can also start using those raised beds in ways that might help you supplement the defense of your property, right? Giving you places that you could take cover, also putting them around the perimeter of your home to help your home become a better and more suitable nuclear shelter if there was ever a nuclear war issue, which I don't think is a high probability. I'm just mentioning it because it's on everybody's mind. All right, next thing here is communications. Start with something pretty basic. You know, go with a multi-band shortwave radio with an external antenna. That way, if there's an emergency, if the power goes out, it's battery powered, you can pull that thing up, you can stretch the antenna out, and you can get information from a long ways away. Short band radio or shortwave radios, multi-band shortwave radios can pick up a lot of different information. Okay, that's a great place to start. Then if you want to go further, then you could think about doing like some of the small team communications, like those little B-Tech GMRS radios, something like this, something like these right here. Or you can go with the UV5Rs or whatever the case may be. Now those are ham radios, and if you really want to get into these communications, especially long range stuff, then it makes a lot of sense to become a ham radio operator, and you have to go and take your tests and everything. You can go to hamradioprep.com and you can use the discount code, I think it's Reality Survival 20 or Reality 20. The link will be down in the description below, and that'll save you 20% off of their lessons. Their lessons are really, really good, and they will get you ready for the test. It's not nearly as hard as you would think. It's not bad. All right, the next thing after that, I mean, you can go up on the comm scale quite a lot, but maybe getting like a ham base station or putting mobile radios in your vehicles so you can do long range comms from your vehicles and stuff. All right, number 12 is make sure that this is the admin section. Make sure that your will and last testament is in order. Also, make sure you got your life insurance squared away. Personally, I think term life insurance makes sense. I don't think that whole life insurance makes a lot of sense personally. That's just me. Make sure you've got an emergency folder with all your important documents put in there. Make sure that folder is scanned in and backed up to a secure cloud. And you also have an electronic copy of that on your thumb drive in your bug out bag. All right? There you go. That's it. That's giving you 12 basic steps to get started, and then a whole bunch of different ways that you can level up in each one of those categories. All right? So this is primarily obviously geared towards more new preppers. So if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, then I would appreciate it if you do that. We're trying to make a push to get to 100,000 subscribers. And like I said, if you go over to realitysurvival.substack.com, you can sign your name up there, and there's going to be a bunch of giveaways going on over there over the next few months. So come be a part of that. We'd appreciate it. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to live 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe.